Hello. Now that I've gotten started, I'm just going to be doing some quick updates to social media to let people know where I am and that I'm getting started. If anyone is here, hello, and it's good to see you. Hey there. I see somebody showed up. If you want to say hello. I'm just updating social media with my presence actually being active. I'm really bad at updating social media for this. You would think with how often I am otherwise on social media, I would be great at this. I am not. I'm just going through and letting people know what's going on. I'm trying to draw some people in. I think I forgot to post on Facebook, but oh well. John is gonna probably be sitting in again today. Just seeing what we're up to. Today I'm going to work on the script itself and the exercise and talk about basically some of the things that I'm going to be doing in the next episode in the script. So some people might notice from next time that I've edited the type of font and stuff I use while I'm writing. And I did this so it's easier to port into releasing to instructors and educators who might want to see the show. So that's why it's a readable font and not in the script format. But I'll switch some of it to the script format to do the final calculation of how long it's going to be and stuff like that. So right now it's just like this, so it's easier to read and easier for me to make a copy of for, the people who want to check out my work. I'm I'm just going to wait one more minute, and then I will go ahead and start talking actively about the changes I'm making and everything like that. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and start walking through all this stuff. So, in the last episode, we talked about personality and leadership, and in this episode we're talking about values and perception. And in the last editing stream, I went through and put down some basic information, and then over the last week I've fleshed it out to be basically the whole script. Where I talk about values, both end values and instrumental values. And then I talk about perception with stereotyping, the halo effect, and projection. There's something called perceptual defense that I was going to talk about, but I'm actually dropping out of the script for length primarily. But most of what I've talked about otherwise has been games-wise, talking about paladins and their oaths and tenets of their various characters and everything, and how we can develop stereotypes based on what they stand for, but also who they are, as well as, the values that they hold and what they mean. I've actually started bolding some of the text so I remember to emphasize properly that's kind of important, because I want to make sure that I read it aloud correctly whenever I speak. The things I need to cover today for the script are the stinger, which is where this is right here, where I have these questions. I need to actually make them into the questions that I ask people at the beginning of the episode, so that the actual stinger. And that John puts it stinger, like that. And then I need to do the closing, which is basically talking about moving from how we feel about the things that are important to us. This is not the exact script, I'm just writing something down for help to get step by step to go forward. Moving from how we feel about the things that are important to us to our mental models for how to act beyond our values. So mental models are kind of like we use our values to talk about actionable behavior beyond some of the things that we've talked about here. And so I need to integrate, talking about these perception things and integrate that with the stuff about values, and then so kind of spit out something to say, and now we're going to talk about mental models. Which is harder than it probably sounds. Just because I want it to be smooth and clear and sound interesting. Hi to whoever just showed up. So let's go up to the stinger and try and get that done first. So the questions that I normally do, I try to do one relating to the topic itself and like structure, like practicality, and then I try to relate to games with one of the little question sets. And so the first one would be similar to like the first part here, where I say, how do my values and perceptions influence my leadership, and how do I use them to be better? So maybe something about how do our values... Hey Anders, it's good to see you. Let's see, how do our values influence our leadership, and how can they shine through in our perceptions? What why would stereotypes matter to a half-orc barbarian? And these are rough, but I may call in opinions from John on it because I'd like to know his thoughts. Because I like to have them in engaging, but I don't want them to sound silly. How do I values? How can they maybe cause conflict in our perceptions with our perceptions? Not barbarian. Seeing my own bias there. Jeez, I'm so used to writing half-orc barbarian, I got it even wrong. Half-orc paladin. Why would stereotypes matter to half-orc paladin? I don't even know if John is logged on, so I keep on acting like he is. And I don't know if he is. I don't know how to read whether people are on here. It's not exactly a useful thing. Oh, you are here. Do you want to toss in your thoughts on my stinger questions? Okay. So John is reviewing the old stingers to make sure that I make sense. There's something I wanted to look in here because I think I need to place emphasis down here and add a word in the script. So I talk about projection, which is whenever you kind of see your traits in other people. And whenever I talked about it, I used an example of someone seeing their values, like projecting their values onto other people. And I want to tie that back to the beginning where I say, that can cause conflict with your perception and everything. How do our values influence our leadership? And how can they cause conflict with our perceptions? In Dungeons & Dragons, why would stereotypes matter to a half-orc paladin anyway? I like it, but I'm not sure if it's just right. I think maybe its order is wrong. So, why would stereotypes matter to a half-orc paladin in Dungeons & Dragons anyway? I don't think I need the anyway. I like it because it's colloquial, but I don't think it fits. Statement, question, then further question. Okay. Maybe, how about something like, our values influence our leadership. How can they cause conflict with our perceptions? Why would stereotypes matter to a half-orc paladin in Dungeons & Dragons? I always find the stinger the hardest part to write. That's why it's almost always like the one that I just agonize on because I want to make sure that it's just right. So they do still in regards to projection, and also stereotypes, because we have values that tie to stereotypes a lot of the time. I might not have elaborated on that enough in stereotypes, but I did add in a bit just into protection to clarify, because I do literally talk about instrumental values becoming a problem with projection in the script. So I'm trying to figure out if that's enough or not. Like, I may look at stereotyping. So because I mean, the halo effect also relates to your values. If you have the values that, justice is something maybe something where I talk about, if you hear the paladin follows the god of justice that you respect, could be something like who reflects your values, or something like, I'm wondering if I can just reword that a little bit to suit so that the word value recurs in some of these sections and make it fit, because that is part of the point. That's why they're together in an episode. So maybe if you hear that a paladin follows a god of justice that reflects your values. I'll bold values so I make sure to emphasis. So if you hear that a paladin follows a god of justice that reflects your values, you might acknowledge later reports of them violating the law. Yeah, so I like that. And let's see. Negative bias. Like many other prejudices. Maybe in stereotyping, I could just have a sentence about how they can relate to values in our cultures or something like that. Maybe. It is now in projections where I talk about projecting your beliefs and values onto others, and I already talk about instrumental values in the first paragraph of that part. So it is covered in projection twice now. So, but if that works, that means good. Cool. Because, like, I'm shocked that I somehow lost that while writing the rest of the script, because that was, like, half the point of putting them together in the same episode, is because our values influence our perception. I don't know if whenever I'm talking about perception in general, if I should say something about values, too. Where I say, perception is a sense-making tool that we use to understand ourselves and people around us. We do this by learning and categorizing based on our experiences and knowledge. It can work for us, but it doesn't. I can't find a spot really to put that in. So I'm not really sure if it suits. According to John in the comments, it's okay to not do that, so we should be good to go. Do you feel okay about those of you reading and watching and all? Do you feel good about the second question, which is, why would stereotypes matter to a half-orc paladin in Dungeons and Dragons? I think I'm going to emphasize stereotypes, if I say that. I personally like it, because that is a valid question that not everybody would actually know the answer to, I think. So, I think I'm good with that. Please raise any objections in the chat while I find my way down here. First statement more specific, like our values influence our leadership, goals, and behaviors. I mean, part of values are goals, so I'm not entirely sure if saying goals and behaviors makes sense. Maybe through. Okay. I tried our values influence our leadership through our behaviors and perception. How can they cause conflict with our perceptions? Maybe I could say, like, why would perception and stereotypes matter to a half-orc paladin? It is obscene how difficult stingers are to get right. Okay. I mean, it is about it. It's how can values cause conflict with our perceptions? Which I think is where I'm struggling with the commentary in the chat. Basically, John is saying that the first question has to be about values, and the second can be about perceptions and stereotypes. So, how can values cause conflict with others? Because, I mean, a lot of it is about, like, how we interact with other people. I don't think I really answer the question of how we decide what we value in this here. So I want to be careful about what I say that I'm gonna answer. But I do think I cover how values cause conflict with others whenever I lead into perception. And I don't know if that's good enough. This is, like, really hard and a little frustrating. Our values influence our leadership through our behaviors and perception. I think that is good because it actually touches on what's going on in the episode. But how can values cause conflict with others? This is hard. I guess it is just a specified concept question of the second one, or of the first one. So, let's see. I don't know, this is hard because the value section isn't super long, so I don't want to go, like, I don't want to go outside of what I actually cover. So, I don't know. Yeah, that's introducing unfamiliar terms in the beginning of the stinger to say pointing to the difference between instrumental and end values. But I can try something about that. I'm just like, geez, what is the difference between, our values that have to do with our goals and the ones that relate to our behavior? I'm not sure. Maybe how do we define values based on our goals or behavior? I don't want to say behaviors again. Intentions? I don't know if that's any better. So how do we define values based on our goals or intentions? I don't think that this is actually answering how do we choose our goals and what methods are appropriate to reach them. It might be how we, have values that relate to that, but I don't actually tell people how to choose these things or like what's appropriate to do. I'm concerned about phrasing that says like, I'm gonna tell you how to like do your actual values, because I'm hoping to cover that a little bit in the exercise, but I don't actually talk about that in the episode in detail, which is probably a failure on my part. I don't know why I can't get this right tonight. I'm kind of okay with the question that I have here, because we do define values that are based on goals or intentions in it. But now I am wondering if I am not putting in enough information in the values section and need to expand it. So I might have to revisit that. So that might not be it. I don't know. I gotta pause on that part though, because I am not feeling productive on it. And I've already come up to 7:30. I know it does feel connected from the second question. I get that, and I don't know how to fix it right now. So I'm just going to have to revisit it. So, here we talked about, finished up talking about projection and need to close out the episode to go to the next, what's going to be talked about in the next one. And in the next episode, I'm talking about mental models. So, along with these other negative habits can perception is influenced by our values, which can change how we act with other people and how we pursue our goals. Once we understand our values and learn to examine our perception, we can work on actionable plans, mental models for guiding our behavior. In the next episode, we'll talk about mental models and how to... I kind of want to say, like, gamify our thought processes or something like that. But I think that might be too adventurous for me as a creator. But I do know that I want to talk about mental models and how to create principles of action. I can call them that. I'm allowed to call these things what I want, right? But I think that's basically what I want to say. So perception is influenced by our values, which can change how we act with other people and how we pursue our goals. Once we understand our values and learn to examine our perception, we can work on actionable plans, mental models for guiding our behavior. In the next episode, we'll talk about mental models and how to create principles of action. And I'm planning on referring to GM principles in Apocalypse World with this. So I think that'll be a nice way to kind of phrase it, because it'll kind of give the indication to that. So I'm good with that, I think. And the last thing I do whenever I do these is I go through and pull out the last bit where I thank people and everything, and add it to it if I can get to it. So copy that, paste that. So look in the description below or on our Patreon post for links to the sources, our definitions and examples, and an exercise on defining your values and examining your perceptions. I hope that you'll share your thoughts and viewpoints in the comments below. Support was made possible. Patreon.com/leadingwithclass. And special thanks to the... Okay. The last thing I need is a little thing at the end, which I think I'm gonna try and finish up later. So thank you to those of you who are able to stop by. I don't have a lot of time for a Q&A today, but I'll definitely do one next time. If anything comes up, feel free to tweet at Leading with Class. At Leading W Class is us on Twitter. You can also check us out on Instagram /Leading with Class, and obviously patreon.com/Leading with Class is where we have our videos and exercises available for you and for your consideration of backing, along with our wish lists for things we need for the show. Feel free to ask any questions that you'd like, and I look forward to seeing you next time and hope you enjoy the episode when it comes out. Thank you very much, and have a good day.